What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. How are we doing? Appreciate everybody for tuning in here today. Fun watch party yesterday. A tie. Shout out to the Bears and Dolphins. 24-24 as the Ben Johnson preseason debut ends in a tie. Some kind of breadcrumb final thoughts coming out of that. But we're mostly moving on to Week 2 of the preseason as the Buffalo Bills will be in town. Joint practice Friday, game Sunday night. So should be exciting stuff as we'll see what the game plan is this week. But before we get started, Michael Horowitz has sent in two $50 super chats. So I think it's only fair that we bring him the boom. So Michael Horowitz. Boom! He says, bear down. He also says, I need proof of concept from Johnson before I buy in. And then Michael Horowitz started with this. He said, Bears fans should want to see the operation with Williams. If you want to start if you went to start 3 and outs with Agent Bajent. I think that was probably voice to text because I know he's done that before. Yeah, they started with 2 3 and outs. I think we all want to see, and we're all eager and curious how the operation's going to look with Caleb Williams. We'll see if he gets out there in the second preseason game or in the third. I think he'll play in at least one of those. We will find out, I would guess, by later part of this week. But Michael, you're a legend. We missed you in the preseason game watch party yesterday, but bringing the boom to start our Monday stream, Colin.
Absolutely. And again, always happy to see you, Michael. Glad that you could join our show today. And yeah, no, listen, I think, look, yes, Ben Johnson's got a long way to, go in terms of like, hey, proving himself as a head coach commodity. But, on the flip side of it, I liked what I saw offensively from the Bears today in terms of a lot of schematical things. We kind of talked a little bit towards the end of the watch party, Harrison. You said, there's a lot more motion involved, and there's going to be a lot more creativity, I feel like, versus the Shane Waldron era. And look, I have no reason not to be optimistic. Again, not saying Michael isn't, but yeah, I think the Bears, they got themselves a good one with Ben Johnson. I'm very excited to see how he looks this year in his rookie campaign.
Yeah, a lot of pre-snap shifting and motion, which can create eye candy for the defense. You can get them on their toes. Seemed like receivers pretty consistently were getting open, so that's a combination of talent and scheme. So, I'm excited to see how it looks. I don't think Caleb has or should be expected to hit the ground running from week 1, but I'm comfortable saying this, that if Caleb doesn't work out here, it's on Caleb. It's not on the Bears. Look, last year was a wasted year. It's an opportunity. But I don't think one season with a bad coaching staff, if Caleb Williams is as good as we think he is as a prospect, that should not be long enough for him to get buried, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think if he's good enough, he'll figure it out with Ben Johnson because I think Ben Johnson's the real deal. I think there's enough talent on this team. So I'm not going to put a timeline on it right now, but, the success or failures of Caleb Williams moving forward, I think a lot of it's going to fall on his shoulders. Maybe not 100%, but I think a lot of it. I think the Bears have put enough around him from a coaching and player standpoint that, there's not going to be a lot of excuses if it doesn't work out. So
100% agreed. And shout out to Michael Horowitz again. I'm going to put your super chat. He continues to boom on the show with another 50.
Unbelievable.
He says, don't get complacent, Bears fans. We need more time in the oven. 29 days until prime time against the Vikings.
Let's go, Michael Horowitz.
God, what an absolute
He's just making it rain. He's just making it
I may not be able to take down this graphic for the rest of the show.
By the way, 28 days, Michael. 4 weeks from today.
Today, baby.
Let's go. Shout out to Michael Horowitz, a beast here on Bears Now. Let's see. We got a few more soups flying in.
Yep, they'll load in here in a second. I think the next one's going to be from TJ. Are you concerned with Hightower and special teams, he asks.
I'm not going to overreact to one preseason game because I thought it was one of the better. It was definitely the Bears' best unit last year. They were 5th in DVOA. Solid in the punt and kick game. The return, the coverage units were good. I would say probably they were middle of the pack as a return team last year, but clearly the coverage units yesterday, I'm guessing Hightower had a field day in film review today. I mean, that was a rough showing. So I would imagine that gets cleaned up. But Cleary and Air. I will say this too, Colin, in slight defense, they did use 2 kickers, and that could impact things in terms of typical ball flight. Are you landing the ball in the end zone, short of the end zone? Where are you putting the ball in the landing zone? So I think it'll be fine. But yeah, I'll say this: if the Bills have several kick returns past the 40 next week, we can have more of a discussion. But I'm not going to overreact to one preseason game when Richard Hightower the last couple of years is led a rock-solid group, and I think it was telling when Ben Johnson kept him on this staff. So, but yeah, it was clearly not very good yesterday.
No, it wasn't, and I think you nailed it. Like, it's par for the course, but they also do get benefit of the doubt, right? And special teams is kind of one of those unique units on the football field where you're, subbing guys in. Obviously, you mentioned the 2 kickers yesterday.
It's unclear, like, how many of, like, the true core special teamers were running, like, I'd have to literally go break down every play and find out who was on every unit to figure out, okay, like, is this the true kickoff unit? So that's kind of harder to tell in these preseason games compared to any other unit in terms of, like, which guys will and won't actually contribute in that area. So, again, I think it's take it for what it's worth. It wasn't a good showing. I guarantee you Richard Hightower wasn't happy about it, but this guy has a track record, and a lot of his core special teamers are still on the team. Josh Blackwell, Travis Homer, just to name a couple. Ahmed Agbagbamiga, like Daniel Hardy. All these guys are still here. So if they're on the team, I would imagine that those units should be sound again. But clearly a learning moment yesterday because there were not even just a couple, several poor special team sequences, I thought. So nothing to freak out about, but definitely a coaching opportunity for Hightower and the staff. Tito, hopefully DA doesn't punt on Booker because he doesn't fit his system. I get it's preseason, but 3 sacks. He's D3 on this trend. I don't think anyone's given up on Austin Booker. He's not as thick as a typical DA edge rusher, but he is 6'6". So he can. I feel like too. I don't know if you feel like this, Cullen. He's clearly still somewhat lean as an edge rusher, but I do think he's probably put on 10 pounds. Like, he does look bigger to me. You saw that bull rush when he strip sacked Quinn Ewers inside the 5. He just kind of tossed that left tackle out of the way. He has just under 34-inch arms, so there are a lot of testing. 6'6" was an exaggeration, by the way. 6'4.5", but still has good length. He's not 280, which Dennis Allen likes, but he was 240 at the combine. I bet he's in the mid-250s. I bet he's playing around 255 right now. That would be my guess.
Yeah, and I think, when we talked about it yesterday, you really hit the nail on the head. To me, like, you may not necessarily have the frame with Austin Booker that, in a Dennis Allen scheme that you want, but to me, it's how you perform in that scheme, and you really nailed it in terms of, like, he's mainly known as a pass rusher, which that's great and all. Can he defend against the run? Because if you're that first defensive end that subs in either for a Dio Dengbo or a Montez Sweat or what have you, you've got to be able to set the edge. And I think with Austin Booker being quote-unquote undersized, that's 6'6", 250, whatever he is, or 6'4", excuse me, that's going to be the challenge for him is can he be a better run defender than he was last year and also, be consistent as a pass rusher? Because if he showed what he did in the preseason, obviously yesterday against the ones, he's going to be, an important factor for this team.
I think a goal for him, this year, but long-term too, is like be average against the run and be a plus pass rusher. Like if you're at least an average run defender, but you're getting after the quarterback, like coaches are going to live with that for a rotation piece. If he's ever going to be a long-term starter, he's going to have to be better against the run, clearly. But, I got to think they're pretty excited about what they saw yesterday. And what fired me up, Cullen, is one thing we've always known about Austin Booker, motor. He never stops pursuing the ball. That's what caught my attention in the preseason last year. I remember he would get beat initially like on the edge on a run, and then like he'd be flying back into the camera chasing a guy down. So, like, the guy never stops. And when a guy has a motor like that, that's something you can work with. But something that stood out yesterday is feel like we saw a variety of pass rush moves. He had a spin move once to get home. He bull rushed the other guy on a sack. So you're seeing him kind of add to his repertoire as a pass rusher. So I'm excited about what he can do. And again, if he could be that third guy, I mean, someone's got to take on that role. And I think right now, if you were a betting man, he would be the favorite to be that guy, assuming they don't add anybody.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, that's obviously what you hope for, right? With the pass rushers, that he develops, he adds more pass rushers to the game. Hopefully, he becomes better in certain technical areas, right? That involves the coaching of Dennis Allen and his positional coach as well. So I mean, look, if Austin Booker can step up and kind of prove that, hey, the size isn't going to be a deterrent for him, obviously that's great for the Bears. And we've heard peeps with Dominic Robinson. Didn't really call his name too much yesterday.
Had a sack yesterday.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of being that next step up guy, I mean, Austin Booker, I would agree, is the big leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah, I think so. Joseph, appreciate the 5. Every rep matters except for the Bears. Look, we can debate till the cows come home. Should they play in the preseason? Should they not? It is what it is. I've kind of given my stance. I see both sides. I would like to see the starters, especially the offense, play in the preseason. I'm guessing they will at one point. If they don't and they come out of the gates very slow offensively, I think that's going to be a fair criticism. Like you can point to that. But it's one of those things that it's a growing trend in the NFL. You're seeing less teams play their guys. Again, I would like to, because some of the reports out of camp have been that the pre-snap operation has been choppy at times, and it's hard to fully simulate that without a game setting. So I expect them to play in at least one of the final 2 preseason games. If they don't, and they have issues week 1 Monday Night Football against the Vikings, that's going to be fair criticism. So time will tell. We'll see what they do. And I will say this. I keep hearing people say, well, Tua played yesterday. I'm like, yeah, totally true. Like, I get all that. I mean, I don't even remember more than like 2 throws he had. Like, are you telling me like him handing the ball off 10 times yesterday and throwing like 3 or 4 passes? Like, is that making a difference for him in the regular season? Now, you could argue if Tua played, Caleb certainly should, and I would agree with that. But like, I do think sometimes, and I'm guilty of this as well, is like, I do think we overvalue some of this stuff. Like, if it's so important, how come half the league isn't doing it? It'd be one thing if it was just 2 or 3 teams and whatever, but like Sean McVay doesn't value it. They're a consistent playoff team. Dan Campbell, the biggest football guy you could argue in the NFL, doesn't play guys that matter, right? So I'm not saying one side right, one side is wrong. Andy Reid does play his guys a little bit, including Patrick Mahomes. So, but guess what? Andy Reid doesn't believe in joint practices. He's never done one. So, like, it'd be if the Bears weren't doing joint practices, Colin, and they weren't playing in the preseason, I'd be like, I'm fully against this. I'm not completely on board and just kind of towing the company line completely with how they're handling it, but at least there's an explanation involved behind it, and there's kind of reps data that they're pouring into their explanation. Like Ben Johnson saying, yeah, our starters aren't going to play in this preseason game, but they're actually going to get more volume of reps because of it with the way we're structuring the practice schedule. So you don't have to agree with that mindset, but at least they're giving you an explanation to how they're doing it.
Yeah, and what I thought was interesting too, I mean, we even asked our Dolphins host yesterday, shout out to Rolly, I asked him, I was like, hey, are the starters even going to play today? Up till probably closer to game time, it wouldn't even confirm that the Dolphins starters were playing. And
I didn't think they were.
I didn't think they were either. And part of the reason that the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel maybe did play Tua in their starters early was because of, the rumor of how the practices went, right? It seemed like the Bears were very physical. Again, calls of potential dirty play, which again, that's a whole nother, discussion for another day. But, maybe the Dolphins too, like they're coming off a year last year where, again, there was a lot of, storylines coming out that players maybe didn't respect McDaniel. There was questions about their physical toughness and everything. And look, you could make the argument for the Bears, right, with Ben Johnson as the new head coach. Maybe you want to get the, players out there for, at least a series just to kind of, get them, in rhythm, so to speak, and make sure that you're working out all the pre-snap stuff that, has been reported issued during training camp. But I think overall, like you said, they had a plan. They played in the joint practice, like you said, against the Dolphins. So, would I love to see Caleb Williams get some action out there for sure? But I don't hate the plan by the Bears. I guess is my best kind of reaction to that.
Got some Bears news, by the way, and I'm going to send this to you for either you or if you want to message someone out there to get built into a List 8 logo or a social of some sorts.
I can build it.
The Bears List 8 logo might be the easiest, actually. It's up to you, though. I'd say if you do it tweet, you're going to have to do like comma, because it's going to be scroll down too much.
Or I could take a picture of this.
That works too. The Bears have worked out 8 defensive backs with concerns in the secondary with injuries. Kalen Barnes, you guys might remember him out of Baylor, ran like a 4.26 in the 40. Millard Bradford, shout out TCU Horned Frogs. Mekhi Garner, Caleb Hayes, Kenny Lovely, Mark Perry, another Horned Frog, Jason Taylor, and Benny Sapp. So I did find it interesting that the Bears cut Ameer Speed earlier. Now, it did say an injury designation, so maybe that was why he had a serious injury or something to make room for Brittain Brown. But think about the guys who are out in the secondary right now. Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, 2 starters that are out. Zay Frazier has not been here all of training camp, 5th-round pick. Terrell Smith injured his groin. I don't know where Nick McLeod is, but he was practicing every day, then he wasn't at joint practice, and he didn't play in the game. So I don't know what's going on with him. So you're down like 5 corners right now. Luckily, it's one of your deeper position groups, but and Tre Flowers got banged up yesterday. He came back, but he's a little nicked up. So they've worked out, and Major Burns got hurt yesterday at safety. So secondary dealing with some injuries right now, and they worked out 8 guys yesterday. Let's see. All right, one sec, guys. Cowherd's going to have a field day with this. Zach Pearson says, while it was a lighter day out there, the offense never got into sync. Saw some drops, some missed throws, bad execution. Ended with a rough situational drill where the offense was down 3 with 54 seconds left in the game at their own 49. Struggled to move the ball in that period. So not a good day for the offense, it sounds like. Yeah, just put it, let's see. Sneak it in, right? See my cursor? We'll just hit it in the news cut. We'll react to the news here in a second. Flat Horizons. Do you find it concerning that Caleb wasn't in for at least a series or 2 yesterday? Anything we should overreact to, or is this just a nothing burger? Well, what would be the concerning part? Like, again, you can be annoyed by it, but concerning isn't really the right word because they didn't play any starters except for guys competing for starting jobs. So, I really don't. I think Caleb is either going to prove he's the guy once games get here, or he's not. It's kind of as simple as that. Now, I can beat a dead horse. I would like to see him play some in the preseason, but is 3 or 4 series in the preseason going to be the reason why he's worthy of the number 1 pick or not? I don't know. That seems like a long shot, but I would play him. We'll see if he plays against Buffalo. Big joint practice Friday as well. It's obviously been a mixed bag of training camp. It was a poor first few days. Thought he had a good second week. This last week's been choppy, so it's kind of all over the map. It's up and down right now, and got 4 weeks till the opener, so it's go time.
If the Bears go up against Buffalo's defense in the joint practice and have another good day, say the offense maybe gets in a groove, has it, but they don't play in that Bills preseason game. Are you just let's say they don't play them, obviously, in the preseason game. What is your initial reaction going to be?
They don't play them.
Yeah. They have a good practice joint, but
they have a good practice. I'll be okay with it. I would want them to play against the Chiefs, though, because there's no joint practice there. I kind of think that might be the strategy. Do what you did last week, and then play guys against the Chiefs. Like I'll say this: if you're playing guys in a preseason game, I'd want it to be the Chiefs because that's the game closest to the regular season. So if it's one or the other, that's the route I would go. I, of course, would be open to playing them in both. I don't know if they're going to do that, though. Critical failures. Who would you rather have a breakout season from, Colson Loveland or Austin Booker? Well, Loveland's a rookie, so I usually don't use the term breakout with rookies, but probably would say Colston because that helps the offense. You made a bigger investment in him. Don't get me wrong. He doesn't have to ball out for this offense to have success. You have Cole Kmet. You have other weapons. You do need a third edge rusher to develop, but I think for Caleb's development and for this offense to become dynamic, Colston Loveland being a big-time factor would just be huge. And, again, you've just made a much bigger investment in him. He was the number 10 pick. Austin Booker was a fifth-round pick last year. So I would pick Loveland, but Booker's development and breaking out would be huge for this team, no question.
Yeah, you could make a small argument due to like positional value. Like obviously, if an edge rusher broke out, like you could make the argument of like, hey, that'd be very valuable. But I mean, as you mentioned, with the investment of Colston Loveland, with the importance of Caleb Williams having a good season and getting off to a good start, if Loveland were to quote unquote break out, obviously it would be huge. So I would agree.
For sure. Dennis, the Chicago kid, I'd rather have Caleb take reps in practice versus the ones playing versus their twos in a preseason game. I mean, that's the thing, too. Sometimes, like, a team will play starters, but then you're going up against a backup defense, and it's like, how valuable is this? It's like, there's a risk of injury. If you don't play well, then there's a lot of questions. Like, it's just, I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't feel like the juice is worth the squeeze. Andy Reid typically plays guys, though, so that's kind of why, okay, play your guys against the Chiefs. And, keep your starters in as long as they go with their ones. That would be my thought. Maybe do what you did last week, this week, play your starters a quarter and a half against the Chiefs, call it a preseason. Like, I'd be fine with that. So that's where I'm at with it. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I get it's the time of year. We don't have a ton of like different angles to talk about, but I do think we overthink the preseason to an extent, and me included. So we're all guilty of it. We're all starving for football, and we're all going to find little reasons. This is why it didn't work. This is why it did. The truth is, if Monday, September 8th, they come out, put up 25-plus points, Caleb plays well, regardless of what he did in the preseason, people are going to be pretty happy with that. If he comes out there, throws a couple of picks, and they lose 20-13, people are going to be frustrated. That's the bottom line. So
just a friendly reminder, too, the Bears had one of the best preseasons, arguably, of all time, and look how the season turned out.
Their point differential last year led the NFL in the preseason, and they went 5-12. So,
which by that logic, right? Bears maybe not having the best, well, not even a bad preseason, but just not having the best preseason. You're hearing stuff about the offense. Maybe they'll,
How about 0-3 this preseason? 3 ties? You in?
To be honest,
are you all tied out?
I'm all tied out.
Collins already had 2 ties in the preseason.
I'm all tied out. I'm not here for ties.
Flat horizons. How refreshing was it to see the defense bringing it on Miami's final drive? Yeah, to go with a cover 0 blitz on 4th down in a preseason game, that was pretty fun. Look, I think Dennis Allen's going to show a lot of different looks. He's going to be exotic. He's going to show different blitz packages, stunts, different coverage schemes on the back end, press man. He'll mix in some zone. Yeah, it's. I think he's going to be more versatile with what he does with his looks, both pre and post snap, defensively than Eberflus was.
Yeah.
Not to pick on Eberflus, the Bears were solid defensively under him, but it was more of a just do your job defense. Like if all 11's doing their job, it's really effective. Well, when you're aggressive and you take more chances, it sure, you can get burned, and that does happen. And there was one play, I think they brought 7, and Miami picked it up, and I think Zach Wilson threw a nice ball for about a 30-yard gain. So you are going to get burned sometimes, just like a Brian Flores defense, but it also creates more margin for error, in my opinion. If someone does mess something up on the back end, well, if you get to the quarterback before the QB can identify that, that's okay. So I'm more of a aggressive-minded style defensive fan than the kind of, hey, let's try to win with 4 up front and play coverage on the back end.
Yeah, and of course, there's certain situations, right, where it's like, hey, don't do anything stupid, like don't get overly aggressive. But yeah, for the most part, I agree with you. I think the main thing that you could probably say about Dennis Allen's defense is he's not going to be complacent, right, with just sitting back and trying to get his pass rush get home. And I think that's the smart approach to have. So yeah, I agree.
M. Gimp Show, do you believe Colin's Caleb take is accurate? Which one? Look, I thought about doing a show on this today. I'm not doing it for now. If more comes out, maybe I will. Look, it is not Colin Cowherd's job to be a fan of Caleb Williams. What I will say, until the last few weeks, he's been a pretty big defender of his. And then it seemingly has pivoted. He ran with a training camp reports of early on when the first few days were a struggle. Did not acknowledge reports when the second week was much better and the offense was getting the better of the defense on a lot of days. The last few days, it's kind of shifted back. Seems like the defense is retaking the lead. So I don't know. There's a lot of theories out there. Is he hearing something from someone inside the organization kind of tipping him off like, hey, Caleb doesn't look good? Possibly. He lives in Chicago now. He does have NFL connections. Is he, is he pissed at the Williams family? Did his dad cut him off? Because Carl used to be one of his sources when he was out in L.A. I don't know. I do think it's a weird changeup considering games haven't started yet. This would make more sense if, look, we're at the bye week, the Bears were 1-3, and Caleb was really struggling. That's fair analysis. Yeah, guys, he's really struggling. He's holding the ball too long. This may not work. For him to say that before games even start here, and sure, people might be in his ear about it, but, I'm just in the point of I'm going to react to what's happening at practice, give my take. That's what we do. But this weighs about 5% compared to the games. If he comes out there and balls against Minnesota, no one's going to care if he struggled for 2/3 of training camp. If he dominated training camp and shit the bed on Monday Night Football, no one's going to care that he dominated training camp because it's about the 17 games. That's what it's about. So I kind of have a I don't care attitude about it, to be honest. Maybe he'll end up being right. Maybe he'll end up being wrong. I have wrong takes all the time. I have takes that hit sometimes. So, he's in the take business. I feel like he's kind of gone a little hotter takey in recent months. But listen, he needs clicks, baby. We all do. So.
Again, I threw this just out there, and I'll kind of briefly mention it. Hey, not a lot of starters playing. Is he just trying to, maybe just juice up his segments a little bit?
Create some engagement?
Hey, listen, can't call out, one of the great Colin Cowherd, but maybe every once in a while he, says some stuff without any kind of real based or factional, just, his opinion, right?
He's not an insider, so, you know.
He's allowed to do that, but, yeah,
And by the way, I'm not saying this being Cowherd's an idiot. Caleb's going to take the league by storm. I don't know that. Ben Johnson, when he gets asked about the offense, is it's inconsistent right now. We're not where we need to be. I'm kind of just leaning on that. I would expect out of the gates, it's going to be a bit bumpy. That's what I'm expecting. Now, what it can't be is a train wreck. We need to see enough positive signs, growth week after week. That's what we need to see. But I don't think he's going to go out there and throw for 350 and 4 touchdowns week 1. That would be my guess. A lot of super chats. We haven't even gotten into our first segment yet. We appreciate you guys.
Another one coming in.
Depressed Bears fan. You think Stafford retires after this year? If the back injury lingers all year and he finishes the season not feeling great, you'd have to think it's possible. It was supposed to practice today, did not. That's a big development in the NFC. If that's an issue, Colin, not only does it make that division even more open, but the NFC as a whole, maybe a playoff spot opens up. So
very much.
I mean, if Jimmy Garoppolo plays all 17, I wouldn't rule them out being like a wild card team because I do think McVay would do a better job of, at least getting serviceable play out of him compared to Josh McDaniels and the Raiders. But I also don't think you're seeing peak Jimmy Garoppolo in 2025.
No, the fact that, I mean, we talked about it on Harry's Fort Vert show earlier, which, by the way, if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you subscribe. When you sent in the doc of the graphic that I needed to make for the Rams QB depth chart, it was worrisome. Now, obviously, when you have Matthew Stafford, right, like that's obviously, the main focal point. But like you said, if Jimmy Garoppolo in 2025 is your best option, not great. Now, again, Sean McVay on any given Sunday could be the best head coach in the NFL in terms of, how he operates. He's, I think, inarguably a top 5, top 3 guy. But, I think it's definitely a major development for the NFC and potentially for the Bears, too, indirectly, right? If they're fighting for a playoff spot, the Rams don't have Stafford. I mean, that could be, a determining factor for them. So, huge news with the Stafford camp. Now, could he practice tomorrow? Sure. Could he practice, a couple days from now? Sure. But the fact that, McVay came out and basically said, hey, he's practicing and he ends up not practicing today, it's definitely something to keep an eye on, for sure. Next super chat from Daly says, just tuned in. What do you think of J.J. McCarthy? As we're going to get that loaded up here in a second.
I watched his one drive, kind of what you would expect, a mixed bag. Couple inaccurate throws, even the first one on the boot to the left. Addison had to reach way back to grab it, but hey, that's what having good receivers is for. His play of the day was that play action where he stepped up to stepped up to avoid pressure, threw about a 15-yard crosser to Addison. That was a nice play. Air-mailed kind of one of those routes. What would you call, like, in between a slant and a post, like a deep slant almost.
Yeah, like a deep in kind of. But
it's not flat. Kind of a deep angle from the receiver, I guess. Probably about 20 yards downfield. Air-mailed him. So it was some good, some not great. Kind of what I would expect. I mean, he didn't play at all last year. So that week one, that could be a choppy kind of just which team makes less mistakes type of game.
Yeah.
I would imagine both teams are going to lean on the run game in week one.
I would agree so. And, if you're Minnesota, you're probably looking at this in terms of the offense if you're Kevin O'Connell. Hey, JJ, manage the offense. Can you execute off play action? We're going to rely on the run game, like you mentioned, and just don't lose it for us. I don't think JJ McCarthy in his, real rookie year, let's call it, this year, is going to be asked to really go out there and throw 40, 50 times a game a whole lot. So, yeah.
That's a big adjustment for O'Connell, too, because, I mean, they, under him, have not been a very good run team, and not only not been very good, just a team that doesn't run the ball a ton. Like, they throw the ball a lot. So, but I think that's why they brought in a Jordan Mason to pair with Aaron Jones. I do think they're going to run the ball a lot more than they have.
I would agree so. I would agree.
Cornelius, appreciate the 5. Did you see those snaps Abdul Carter got in his debut? Didn't get a sack, but that dude is going to be ridiculous. Yeah, I think he's got a chance to be, like, if you ask me right now, one player that makes the Hall of Fame out of this last draft, I would pick him because he looks just unblockable at times already. I mean, it wouldn't shock me at all if he had double-digit sacks as a rookie. He looks like the real deal.
He does.
And he's still learning to be an edge rusher. Mm-hmm. Last year was his first year as a full-time edge rusher. Like, what's this guy going to be at 27 years old? I mean, he could be if you ask me, is this guy a DPOY at some point? I would say yes.
Yeah. Pair that up with, Dexter Lawrence. We'll see what they do with Kayvon Thibodeau. You have Brian Burns.
I mean, he's going to get some one-on-one opportunities. Like, that Giants D line is going to steal a game or two that they shouldn't because they're just going to rack up a ton of pressure.
Yeah. I mean, that NASCAR package alone, just Thibodeau, Dexter, Abdul, and Burns. I mean, that's scary for any offensive line. I don't care who you are. So
don't forget about Bears legend Roy Robertson Harris.
There we go. Never.
TJ, I'm pumped for Texas, Ohio State, LSU, Clemson. Yeah, it's exciting. Opening weekend in college football this year is fantastic. So can't wait for that. You got Notre Dame, Miami as well. I think that's the Sunday game. So it's a loaded slate. It's a loaded slate. All right, we
We do have some segs to do.
We do have other content to do, but we will take more questions. So continue to fire in those supers. You can also use hashtag Bears. In about 15 minutes, we will get into our mailbag segment. But there is some news from today. The Bears have made a roster move. They also worked out several defensive backs. We will discuss that. Plus, I just kind of wanted to just take the temperature and kind of revisit some of these training camp battles and kind of where it feels like things sit at this point in time. So we'll do that as well. And then a fresh look at some cut candidates after the Dolphins game, as we're about halfway through training camp and one of 3 preseason games is in the books. We'll take a look at all of that. It's coming up here on Chicago Bears Now. I'm Harrison Graham. The Chicago Bears have made a roster move, plus worked out 8 defensive backs. We're going to talk about that off the top here, and we're going to take a look at some updates on these position battles. We did a preview before training camp started and took a look at some position battles, and kind of want to check the temperature and where things sit on 5 of those battles. So we'll get to that toward the end of the show as well. Bears PR tweeted it a little bit ago. This was reported by CBS on Saturday night that the Bears were expected to sign running back Brittain Brown. He was one of 4 runners that worked out for the team on Saturday. They have now made that official. They have waived defensive back Ameer Speed with an injury designation. So he is off the 91-man roster. If you're unfamiliar with Brittain Brown, a little bit about his background. He was a 3-star recruit from Georgia back in the mid-2010s. Played 3 years at Duke from 2017 to 19. Transferred to UCLA and had 2 pretty solid seasons there. Was a 7th-round pick with the Raiders in 2022. Played, I think, made the team, was on the roster for some of his rookie season, played in 6 games, and then in 2023 got hurt, so was on IR. Seahawks picked him up last year. He was on their practice squad for most of that year. I mentioned in 2022, played in 6 games, but recorded 0 stats. He's never had a carry in the NFL in those 6 games. I think he only played on special teams without recording a stat, so has not done literally has not done anything in the NFL. Now, he was a pretty productive college player, just over 400 carries, well over 5 yards per carry with 2,200 plus yards, had 41 catches as well, 23 total touchdowns. I mentioned Seahawks practice squad last year. I think the connection there is Zach Charbonnet, because they were part of a 1-2 punch at UCLA, I think in that 2021 season, maybe 22 as well. I'd have to go back and check, but there was an overlap there in one of the years. They were the 1-2 punch, and they were a pretty effective combo playing under Chip Kelly in that offense. So good productive college player that, for whatever reason, hasn't translated to the NFL. So you add him to the mix. Obviously, Roschon Johnson's been banged up. Kyle Monangai, who I think is going to be officially RB2 pretty soon, is moving up the ranks. Travis Homer tweaked his calf in that game yesterday as well, so they probably just needed to add a running back regardless. And now Brittain Brown is in the fold. I do wonder if something is up with Roschon Johnson. Is that a signal that Roschon's foot injury could linger? Because remember, this isn't necessarily a response to Travis Homer getting injured yesterday, because this was reported Saturday night, and they worked out running backs on Saturday. The Homer thing didn't happen until yesterday, so they were adding a running back regardless. And 3 of the 4 running backs that worked out were bigger physical backs, including Brittain Brown. Well, Roschon Johnson is your bigger physical back. That's kind of his role on this team. So I do wonder if something could linger with Roschon's foot injury, or if something more is going on. So just keep an eye on that as we progress throughout training camp. This is why you subscribe to the channel. When news drops, big or small, we cover it for you. Give my take, give my analysis for you guys. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. That way you never, ever miss a video here on Chicago Bears Now. Cullen, before we get to the position battle updates, let's talk about the guys that the Bears worked out today, because they're getting a little beat up at defensive back. Brad Biggs had the note that they worked out 8 DBs. Kalen Barnes, who, if you remember, ran like a 4.25 in the 40 a few years back, but has not really stuck in the NFL. Millard Bradford, Mekhi Garner, Caleb Hayes, Kenny Lonely, Mark Perry, Benny Sapp, and then Jason Taylor. And you think about the injuries in the secondary. Major Burns injured his knee yesterday. Unclear how long he's out. Terrell Smith with the groin. Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon are already out. They just cut Ameer Speed with an injury designation. That's 5 guys right there. Zay Frazier has been out all of training camp with personal reasons. And Nick McLeod, who had been there throughout camp, wasn't to be seen during joint practices and did against Miami and did not play in the game on Sunday. So I don't know if something's going on with him now. So they're probably going to have to sign at least 1 DB, if not 2, just to help get through camp here. So you don't work out 8 defensive backs unless you're thinking about adding 1 or 2. So be on the lookout for that. If they sign someone, we'll have it covered. Okay, let's get to some position battle updates. The left tackle competition, which started with 3 guys, Karan Amagaji being in there along with Braxton Jones and Ozzie Trapillo. It appears to be down to 2, but Declan Doyle said today that I still think that battle's wide open. Now, he said there's been things where people are starting to separate, but I thought yesterday Ozzie Trapillo was slightly better overall. He was definitely better in pass protection. Braxton Jones graded out better. This is per PFF in run blocking, which isn't a surprise. I do think Braxton's a better run blocker at this stage, but I think Trapillo is and definitely profiles to be a better pass protector, and that is something Ben Johnson has consistently said. We need our offensive tackles to be able to pass protect one-on-one, and I think at times Braxton struggles with that, whereas Ozzie gives you a better chance in that regard. I also think that no one's exactly running away with this job. Now, is that something to be concerned about? Does that mean that it's been a good, healthy, competitive competition between these guys, or is it they're kind of all underwhelming, and eventually they're just going to have to pick someone. Now, there's still a lot of time. It's not like they're playing a game tomorrow, but I do think it's safe to say that out of the 5 starters in the offensive line, left tackle is going to be the big question mark, regardless of who they pick, and that's obviously a big position. The good news is whoever it is going to be playing next to Joe Thuney. That should help quite a bit. So my gut still tells me Ozzie's going to be the guy, especially Braxton not really capitalizing on the opportunity to get the first 3 series yesterday. I thought he was pretty average at best, if not below average. So in the end, I do think it'll be Ozzie Trapillo. What say you? Who do you think wins the left tackle job? BJ for Braxton Jones, or you can type OT for Ozzie Trapillo. Whoever it is going to be protecting this man, Caleb Williams. If you want to get a Caleb Williams jersey for only $100, chatsports.com/Caleb jersey. That is the place to get it, chatsports.com/Caleb jersey. Link is in the comments and description. Click and shop today and get yourself a jersey. All right, that CB2 spot, that second outside corner, obviously Jalen Johnson's your CB1, Kyler Gordon's your nickel. Nahshon Wright, who's been turning heads during training camp in limited snaps, did not perform very well. Got beat multiple times, gave up a 4th down completion on that opening drive when Tua and the starters were out there to extend the chains. And you could say, sure, the Bears played mostly 2s on defense. The Dolphins had some of their starters out there. It wasn't Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. It was Malik Washington. Like, that's an opportunity if you're Nahshon Wright on 4th down to play sticky coverage and not give up that completion. He did. Meanwhile, on the other side, Tyreek Stevenson wasn't targeted a single time. So that feels like a win for Reek. I expect him to be the starter. I still think Nahshon Wright's had a good camp. I think he's going to be on this football team, especially given all the injuries. But if you ask me today, who do you think CB2 is? I think it's going to be this man, Tyreek Stevenson. Okay, backup quarterback. And it's been, I would say, somewhat unclear how real of a competition this is. I do think it is one because throughout camp they've been alternating a decent amount between the 2s and the 3s, but Tyson Bagent was listed as the QB2. He started and played the entire first half. Maybe that changes for preseason week number 2. We'll see. All of that being said, though, Case Keenum has a lot of experience in Detroit. They liked having a veteran backup. That's why they signed Teddy Bridgewater late last season to bring him back, because they probably felt more comfortable with him in a playoff game than Hendon Hooker. And Case Keenum has played a lot of ball, and I thought he played a little bit better yesterday than Tyson Bagent. I'd still lean Bagent. Like, who would I prefer to be the backup and put out in a real game if there's an injury to Caleb Williams? But it's pretty close. Like, you could talk me into Case Keenum pretty easily. If you're asking me who do I trust to just operate the offense, probably pick Case. If you're asking me who do I think gives you the better chance to make big plays, I'd probably say Tyson. So it's going to come down to what they value more. But I do think both guys will be on the team. But it's still important to figure out who the true backup is in case there is an injury. I want to hear from you guys. If Caleb were to get hurt, who would you trust more to win a game? Go out there, win a game. TB for Tyson Bagent, CK for Case Keenum. When I angle it that way, like I could come to a Case Keenum conclusion, but I also want to invest more in Tyson Bagent, so it's a tough call. You guys let me know. TB for Bagent, CK for Keenum. All right, third linebacker, and early last week before the preseason opener against Miami, you were starting to hear whispers and reports that Noah Sewell's had a pretty good camp, and he's been that third guy after TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, and I think that's the case, and I think we saw that in the game. He made multiple splash plays, the fourth down stop. He had a peanut punch, forced fumble. That wasn't recovered, but still created an opportunity for the Bears defense to get a takeaway. Was in the backfield a couple of times. Ruben Hippolyte had one TFL, I think, but I think he's still kind of running with the chicken with his head cut off. He's kind of figuring things out a little bit. So I do think Noah Sewell is likely going to be that guy. I do think he is separated past the Ruben Hippolytes and the Eamon Agbabamigas at this point in time. And then, of course, that second running back, Roschon, Kyle Monangai, Travis Homer, Ian Wheeler, who's it going to be? I think it's going to be Kyle Monangai. I think it's going to be the rookie out of Rutgers. Thought he had a couple of really nice runs against Miami. 6 carries, 30 yards. Needs to show more from a pass protection standpoint. Had one rep that was pretty ugly, and that's an area that he was good at in college. But you're going up against NFL bodies now. It's not the same deal, so he'll have to clean that up. But thought he showed good vision, patience. The contact balance is there. All the things that he profiled as a runner coming out of college, I thought were on display. That 3rd and 2 run inside the 10 doesn't seem like much, but a lot of guys would just try and ram that up the middle, just get the 2 ugly yards. He let that develop. He let the hole get created, and then he cut and hit it hard and converted and got a first down. You can tell that he's a smart player and he understands how blocks develop. So I liked what I saw from him, and with Roschon getting injured, I do think Monangai has kind of become that clear second guy behind DeAndre Swift right now. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Chicago Bears Now. A little bit of news and some training camp battle updates as we get closer and closer to the real shebang. 4 weeks from today, the Bears will open up against the Minnesota Vikings. But a lot of stuff between then, couple of preseason games, joint practice on Friday. We'll continue to have you guys covered with everything Bears on a daily basis, so don't forget to subscribe. Cornelius, Caleb Williams had the best game of his career against Flores. One of them for sure. I mean, that first game when they came back and forced overtime, got the onside kick, I thought Caleb was really good. He had several tight window throws, a couple to Keenan Allen. It was also the play, Cullen, where he got flushed right and kind of threw that jump pass downfield to DeAndre Swift. And, that's kind of the special part of his game, right? Like, that's where he can, if he can get better within the pocket and playing on time, even if that's never like top tier in the NFL, if he can become above average in that area, the play after the play is where he can be one of the best in the league, and at times last year already flashed that ability. So, week one is you just never know. Mm-hmm. A genie could come to me and present 5 different scenarios that I would believe. So, I thought Flores got him pretty good the second time. So we'll see. Ben Johnson, I know, has had a lot of success against Flores. He kind of torched them when he was in Detroit the last couple of years.
Yeah, I just can't wait. I can't wait for week one. I think it'll be interesting.
The preseason narratives and takes, it's already getting a little exhausting.
Yeah, a little.
It's like we need the real thing to be here.
Just a little bit. Again,
it's still fun.
Back, it is.
It's better than nothing.
But in terms of like people having these major takes and all this other stuff. Like, it's one thing, like, if you're arguing, like, hey, who do you think the Bears' third linebacker should be? Like, we're talking about. It's another thing to declare Caleb Williams potentially a bust or whatever Coward said at this point. Like, it's I'm just kind of.
Look, he could be, but it's not like I do think there's too much. We're putting way too much stock in what's happening in July and August. It certainly matters, but I think the stuff that matters more is just like building the calluses, how hard this coaching staff is pushing this team, embracing physicality, learning the playbook. Like, these things are more important than like, oh, he went 7 for 9 in a preseason game instead of 5 for 9. Like, that's, it's kind of like the people who track stats in training camp practices.
Yeah.
Now,
ESPN
when you see like a 3-day sequence of Justin Fields going 15 for 43, if that's an accurate number, like, yeah, that's alarming. But it's also like, I just, ESPN Cleveland tweeting out a graphic every day of their 4 quarterbacks. It's like, there's no context with these stats. Was this 7-on-7? Was this team drills? Was it the 1s? Was it the 2s? Who's on the other side playing? It's just.
By the way, they came out with their second unofficial depth chart. Shador still QB4.
Yeah. I thought you were saying the Bears. Was like,
No, for the Browns. Okay, Wi-Fi. We're still streaming. Everybody good? Somebody in our.
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're fine. Yeah.
Someone else in the office is having issues, but that's not us.
Just making sure.
That is not us.
But yeah, use hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get in on this mailbag.
Yeah, fire away. Fire away. That being said, with the Browns, I still stand by it, regardless of if Shador is going to be good or not. You're just not going to convince me you'd rather watch Dylan Gabriel than Shador Sanders.
No.
You're just not going to convince me.
I've seen enough just from the clips that I've seen from Browns training camp. There's no way that I truthfully envision at this point in their careers Dylan Gabriel's a better quarterback than Shador Sanders. I just can't. I can't wrap my brain around it.
Not going to convince me.
Titus, that's a good question. AJ, interesting. Eli, that's a good one. Ask a couple more, and I think we'll get ready for this.
Fire away, hashtag Bears, or you can send in a Super Chat. Super Chat guarantees you on the show. Hashtag Bears, pretty good chance you'll get on the show.
Yeah. By the way, how many of my fellow Manun guys are in the chat? Huh?
Ooh, let's go.
6.
By the way, Bears training camp schedule the rest of the way is as follows. They had practice today. They have practice on Wednesday, off day tomorrow it looks like. Thursday as well, and then Friday is the joint practice. And then their final 2 training camp practices are Monday after the game on Sunday, and at least that's how it's booked for now. So if they play starters in that game, could that change? Perhaps. Maybe they go Tuesday, Wednesday instead of Monday, Wednesday, and then final preseason game Friday, and then it's over. It's week 1 game prep from then on out. I mean, it flies by.
It really does. It really
flies by.
I mean, before we know it, we'll be making, cuts to the final 53, which obviously, I think we went live for last year.
That's 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to go back and look. I think we did go live. We
did.
Maybe we do that again.
Would you guys want that?
Do y'all want us to go live for the roster release? Maybe we go live Tuesday instead of Monday, or we just do a shorter live Monday, because you're not going to have that many stash cuts. That makes sense. We'll probably go live.
Seen a lot of yeses.
Yeah, we'll probably go live. Monday we'll probably just do, a couple of videos that go out. But all right, we'll plan on making that happen.
We can make it happen.
All right, mailbag time. Hashtag Bear Super Chat, and let's get this thing going. Let me make sure this is nothing important. Hang on a second. All right. We are good. Let's send it. Fire in those mailbag questions. I'm Harrison Graham. Let's get into a Chicago Bears now mailbag. We're filming this live on Monday, August 11th, so we are 1 preseason game into the preseason. Booker for DPOY. That would be electric. Hashtag Bears saw a report that the Jets could trade Breece Hall. Should we trade for him? Yeah, I actually talked about this on 4 Verts. Now, it was from Tony Pauline, so he's had some hits, has some misses, but there has been some chatter that they like Braylon Allen more than Breece Hall, and with Breece Hall in a contract year, he's even been on the record saying, yeah, this regime didn't draft me, so I have to prove that I'm worthy of them wanting to keep here. Kind of feels like he knows his time with the Jets could be coming to an end, whether it's via trade or they just let him walk after this season. And if the Jets like Braylon Allen more, would you just trade Breece Hall to try and get something for him? Good runner, good receiving back. I thought last year was a bit of an underwhelming season for him. He's never quite hit that full potential, although he has been pretty productive. I probably would only consider it for a late day 3 pick. I'm not doing a day 2 pick, probably not doing a 4th. I'd do a 5 or a 6. If I'm trading a 4th, I'd probably want to pick back. Like, give me Breece Hall and a 7th for a 4th or something like that. Like, I guess I could swallow that, but I'm not doing it for a day 2 pick. And I like Breece Hall, but, I also like what I'm seeing from Kyle Monangai. I think DeAndre Swift is going to be pretty good in this offense. Roschon Johnson being banged up recently, that's a bit of a curveball to the situation, but is Roschon getting banged up enough of a reason to go overpay for Breece Hall? I don't know I'm there. So we'll see how it shakes out. We'll see what the Jets do. Sometimes you see little trades before or after roster cutdown day. So going to be interesting. Certainly a position the Bears could still add at, but I do think they have enough to get by. Are the Bears good enough at running back? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I think they're good enough. I will say this, if they have concerns about how the passing game could look early, would you want to get a guy like Breece Hall who can help be a bell cow and take pressure off Caleb in the passing game? Sure, you could go that route, but my guess is they probably will not. Kiddis, what UDFA do you believe has the best chance of making the 53? Oh, it's a good question. I probably would have said J.P. Richardson like a week or 2 ago. Has that shifted to the other receiver, Jahdae Walker, after his preseason opener? Especially if Miles Boykin injury lingers, could Walker be the backup X? Could he be like wide receiver 6, backup X? He'd have to be able to play on special teams to make the team. Not sure how they view him as a special teamer, but high character guy. He forget what the award's called, but he won some big award for his character at Texas A&M. So easy to root for. Made some big plays against Miami. So maybe him. Xavier Carlton's a name I would make. Batted a ball at the line of scrimmage against the Dolphins. So called his name out at least once. But I would maybe shift toward Jahdae Walker at this point. But I would also I'll throw one more out there. Deion Hankins, I thought, did a couple of nice things. Like, that probably only happens if Roschon Johnson is on short-term IR. But those are a few guys that could make the team. The other one I'd consider was Major Burns, but he just got injured. I don't know how long he's going to be out. Luke Clark, what are your current playoff teams in the NFC? Well, I'm going to do a full prediction, but I'll throw a few out here. Let's start outside of the NFC North. I think Philly is obviously a playoff team. I keep going back and forth between Dallas and Washington. I do think one of those teams make it. I guess I'll say Washington with this Micah stuff going on, but I don't feel super confident in it. But I'll say they're a wild card team. I think just the Bucks out of the NFC South. I'll still pick the Rams. I'm going to say Stafford is plays most of this season at least, so I'll say them. And then coming back to the North, I think the North gets 2 this year, not 3. Right now, I would say the Lions, and I'm debating between the other 3, including the Bears. I will have my final prediction before week 1. I'm not ready to give it, but that's kind of where things sit right now. And then, is that 7 teams? 2 from the North, 2 from the East, 1 from the South. Okay, 49ers. They'll be a playoff team. Sorry. Producer Colin is saying, Seahawks. They could be. I think Seattle's going to be solid. Okay. Subscribe and join us every Thursday, Monday as well, which is today. 4 o'clock Central Time, we go live and do these mailbag episodes. we got you guys covered, so go ahead and rock and roll with us. Tim Griffin, who will have a better impact this season, the defense or the offense? I'd probably say the defense, but I'm not completely punting on the offense. I think by the end of the year, especially, the defense or the offense could be better than the defense. But I especially think early on, and if you were betting just throughout the course of the season, which unit would you bet on more? You just would say the defense. Part of that is just the history of this franchise, but I also think the defense is just ahead of the offense right now. So I would say the defense. Eli Davis, how many receivers make the team this year? I mean, it'll be at least 5. I don't think it'll be more than 6. I think the top 4 are locks of DJ, Rome, Zaccheaus, and Burden. They're all going to be on this team. The fact that Zaccheaus didn't even play in the preseason opener, he's on the team. That's not – he has had a hell of a camp. Him and Caleb have had a good they've built good chemistry. Burden, he's on the team, obviously. Rome, DJ. I think Duvernay's mostly safe. Thought he flashed a little bit at receiver. Seems like he's going to be the return guy. And if you go 6, I think it's, I would give Miles Boykin the slight edge, but with him getting banged up recently, I think a guy like Jade Walker could enter that discussion. I think J.P. Richardson's on the outside looking in now, especially with Zaccheaus and Duvernay, both slot guys, so that's probably a tough path. I think Tyler Scott's clock is ticking very fast. I don't like his chances at all. And the other guys, John Jackson, Samari Torrey, they're bottom of the roster guys. So I would say if you keep 6, it's between Miles Boykin and I'll throw Jade Walker into the mix right now. Maurice Alexander, too, actually. He played pretty good in the preseason opener, but kind of like Duvernay and Zaccheaus, smaller slot guy. It's kind of a prototype question, right? Like if I'm keeping a 6th receiver, ideally I'd want a backup X for Rome Odunze, and to me that's got to be Miles Boykin or Jade Walker. Hypothetically, if you could add any player to this team, current player, we're not going to say Walter Payton, who would it be? Who would you add to this roster? I want to hear from Bears fans right now. All right, Adam Morrow, do you think passing on Chubb was a mistake? Not really. He looks slow in the clips I've seen. I think he'll be serviceable for Houston, but I just don't think he's what he was. I was on board with doing it, but I wasn't like, you have to go get Nick Chubb. I think he's a fine running back at this point in his career. So, no, I don't think that's some major mistake. Tom, do they keep 3 QBs on the 53? I'd be shocked if they didn't. Tyson's a young guy, still developing, improving. He's shown flashes. Case Keenum, they brought him here for a reason. You don't want to risk cutting him and him getting claimed elsewhere. In a perfect world, could you be like, Bajan's the backup, Keenum's on the practice squad? Sure, but I think that's way too risky. They also gave him some guaranteed money. They're keeping 3. They're keeping 3. I'd be floored if one of those top 3 guys wasn't on the 53-man roster. Appreciate all the questions. If you have more, you know where to find me. Twitter, Instagram, @HGramNFL. If you DM me after the watch party, if you're one of our raffle winners, I am still catching up on DMs. I will get back to you. Have no fear. I got you. But if you also want to fire in more questions over there, you can do so. DMs are open @HGramNFL. All right. Saquon Barkley, Max Crosby, Micah, Derrick Henry, Myles Garrett, Laporta. You got 2 good tight ends. I'm good there. Is there someone that comes to mind for you?
Look, I mean, I know we've talked about and obviously this has to factor.
I'll say the obvious one, Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
And exactly. I love Caleb. I like Caleb a lot. I think he's got a chance to be special. But
yeah,
if you told me today I could add Patrick Mahomes, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, and I'm thinking of all right, in terms of players, because that rules out obviously Mahomes came to mind, left tackle, right? Do you want the best left tackle? Could that be an option? But in terms of just positions the players need, obviously the top one is edge for us, running back, and then it kind of goes every other position. Best edge, which I think is Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett on this team would be pretty dope. Not gonna lie. Someone said Cullen for sure. You would not want that. Hey, listen, if Scales needs a week off or something, I can launch that.
Scales is Scott Daly.
Scott Daly, excuse me.
Scales exited last year when he got injured.
Yeah, but I don't know. Probably the best edge rusher. If I could add anyone, it would be Zadarius Smith. Well, that is realistic. We'll see if the Bears agree. Cullen for center backup. That's funny.
All right, we got one more segment.
We do.
A little quote from DJ Moore after practice today. Why he trusts Ben Johnson. Quote, the way his attitude is, he can get mad and then start smiling at the same time. It's kind of creepy because you don't know if he's serious or if he's joking. So you just have to take everything he says serious and go from there. Also, how blunt has been. Quote, real blunt. Sometimes it's like you have to be a man about it and not just tuck your tail. You have to take the coaching. Ben Johnson's not, remember the fears of like, what if this guy's just like boy genius? He's just a X's and O's guy. I think that was put to rest probably for guys on the team, like day one. But I think even people on the outside are noticing it. It's like, oh, this guy's not just like a football nerd. Like he means business. He will blast you in the film room if necessary. So
yeah, Ricky. Yeah, I agree, Ricky. I want to wait and see, right? Because obviously in the preseason, again, it's his first debut as an NFL head coach. He's going to be fired up. I want to see the season. I really do. But in terms of like being like one of our guys in our office called him the next Adam Gase. I think that's fully been put to rest. So
yeah,
I would agree.
All right. Let's talk cut candidates.
Yeah,
some guys that could be on the chopping block after the preseason opener. We'll do that next. With one preseason game in the books, we're going to take a look at some fresh Bears cut candidates here on today's show. My name is Harrison Graham. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's show. Before we get to that list, name a player right now. Any player right now that you should cut. Who do you want Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson to send to the curb? Let us know in the comments section of this video. All right, number one is Tyler Scott. I just think it's over, man. The few times they panned him on the sideline, he's kind of standing by himself. He had the one catch over the middle for like 7 yards, but I just think it's done. I think he's behind a lot of guys that are stylistically similar to him. I still think it was alarming last year that he basically didn't play at all, and I know we didn't like that coaching staff, but, he was behind DeAndre Carter and, even Colin Johnson at times. It was just weird. I just don't think it's going to happen here. Maybe he's a guy who needs a fresh start somewhere. Not only is he behind the obvious ones, the DJs, the Romes, the Zacchaeuses, the Burdens, but even like Devin Duvernay, clearly ahead of him. Getting into the game at receiver earlier, obviously has the return value. Maurice Alexander seems to be a guy that is getting more opportunities and taking advantage of those. I think he's near the bottom. I don't even think he's on the bubble at this point, if I'm being completely honest. So it's disappointing. Clock's not out yet, I suppose, but something would have to drastically shift for Tyler Scott to make this 53-man roster. Jonathan Ford, a player I liked last year. They brought him in on the Packers practice squad. I thought he flashed. When Andrew Billings went down, they needed someone to help be a run stopper. And when they finally poached him off the Packers practice squad, I thought he did some good things. I did not think he played very well yesterday at all. It's one game, but when you're on the roster bubble and that defensive tackle position is crowded, you gotta make hay. And I didn't think he did that. He graded out better as a pass rusher than run defender, which that's not ideal for his prototype as a player. And that was in a healthy amount of snaps. He played almost 50 snaps. To give him credit, he's a big boy to play that many snaps at 100 degrees. Kudos to him. But, you're behind Javon Dexter. You're behind Grady Jarrett. Andrew Billings, you're behind. Shamar Turner's injured right now, but he's going to be on the 53 unless they put him on short-term IR. I think Chris Williams is a better player. And even though I've soured on Zach Pickens and don't think he's very good, I thought he looked better yesterday. He had a sack, had a couple other times when I noticed him as well. Feels like that final defensive tackle spot could come down to Ford and Pickens. They could both get cut, theoretically. If Turner is ready to go for week one, that's 5 healthy defensive tackles that are likely on the team with Shamar Turner, Jervon Dexter, Andrew Billings, Grady Jarrett, and then I think Chris Williams is ahead of Jonathan Ford and Zach Pickens. So, the path to the roster is tough with Turner being banged up. You got an opportunity, but I did not think Ford played very well yesterday. All right, get yourself a Caleb Williams jersey. $100 only. Typically, these jerseys are like 120 plus. These Nike Authentic NFL jerseys, they usually run 120 or more. This one's only 100. Chatsports.com/Caleb jersey. It's a good deal. Take advantage today. Tre Flowers is next up. PFF graded him fairly well in the preseason opener. I do think he finished that game better than he started, but when he was out there early and against better competition, I thought the Dolphins were picking on him. Now, he didn't make a couple of PBUs, so he was able to bounce back a little bit, but I think he's over the hill. He just looks slow. He's behind receivers a lot of the time. He battled. He played a bunch of snaps, so, kudos to him. The position is thin right now with the injuries. Jalen, Kyler, Terrell Smith. Not sure what's going on with Nick McLeod. Zay Frazier's away from the team. So there are opportunities that could save him. Maybe he sneaks onto the 53 initially because of injuries. But watching him against Miami's 2 3s and 4s, I felt like they were getting the better of him. I think his days of being an impactful NFL player are behind him. And I think his days of being on this 53 are pretty slim at this point as well. All right, Doug Kramer is next up. He's injured right now. The saving grace for him is you don't have that true backup center, so maybe that gives him a shot. But Ryan Bates played a lot of center in the preseason opener and has that flex to do so. A, he stayed healthy, which is a big question mark coming into camp, talking about Ryan Bates. And B, him starting at center in the preseason opener, I think is pretty telling to me, and I felt like he was at least solid. I think that could spell trouble for Doug Kramer, who's been banged up twice in this training camp. Also, I haven't heard a peep about utilizing the Doug Kramer fullback role. Now, maybe that's happened in closed practices, but I haven't heard about it. I haven't seen it. And without that role, that kind of diminishes him because he's kind of too small to play guard, so he's really center-only guard in an emergency. Ryan Bates can play both. He's been healthy, which was a question mark. It's still thin on the interior for backups, but I think Luke Newman's ahead of him. I thought he actually played pretty well before leaving with a concussion in the preseason opener. So I think Doug Kramer could be on the outside looking in, especially as he's banged up here. Support the show. Take 1 second. It takes 1 second to click the subscribe button. It's free of charge. We provide content every single day around this football team. You're not going to regret it. Help us out. All right, lastly, JP Richardson, my guy, who has had a pretty good training camp. I do think he's slowed down a little bit. Didn't do a ton in that preseason opener. Didn't necessarily do anything wrong, but when you're on the outside looking in, and especially when a fellow UDFA receiver has a really good day with a guy like Jade Walker, that's tough. It's a crowded room. It was crowded to begin with for guys on the outside looking in. And, I just feel like Jade Walker's path is a little clearer given he's a bigger receiver. This team has a lot of shorter, shifty slot receiver types. Where is JP Richardson going to penetrate that prototype on this team? I think Devin Duvernay's ahead of him. They trust him as the punt returner. Made some more splash plays at receiver. I think even a guy like Maurice Alexander, they might view as ahead of him. Certainly got into the game earlier than JP Richardson. I don't think JP's doing anything wrong. I just think it's tough when you have a crowded wide receiver room. And I thought Jade Walker popped. I thought he jumped off the screen. Had a nice fade ball touchdown from Case Keenum. Almost came down with another touchdown earlier in the game as well. There's more big play downfield ability with him. And again, there's no true backup big body receiver for Rome Odunze right now. It's probably Miles Boykin, but if it's not, it could be Jade Walker. I think it's a combination of the type of receiver JP is and just not doing as much as some other guys did, at least through the first preseason game. Still some time, but I think it's an uphill battle here. Keep it on the practice squad, though. Name a player that you don't want the Bears to cut. Who's someone you're fighting to keep on this roster? I want to hear from you guys right now because these are 5 guys that I think could be in trouble after the preseason opener. Tyler Scott, clock's been ticking on him all offseason, has yet to really convince any of us that he's going to be worthy of keeping. Jonathan Ford, poor preseason opener. We'll see if he can bounce back. He's right there on the bubble. Tre Flowers, a lot of injuries at corner. We'll see if he can prove he's worth keeping. Doug Kramer, banged up right now. Ryan Bates might prove to just be that backup center. And J.P. Richardson, given his style of play and how many slot receivers are on this team, just may not have a path to the 53. My name is Harrison Graham. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. We will have more content on the channel. And also, I'm tweeting about the Bears on a daily basis. So give me a follow at HGrahamNFL.
Bang, bang.
All right.
We did get another super chat going to load it up on screen from Sebastian. He said, not to beat a dead horse, but if we signed Saquon last year and traded picks with Washington and took Jaden Daniels, would we have been a Super Bowl contender?
Or would we be?
Or would we be a Super Bowl contender, excuse me.
I mean, that's a lot of moving parts. Maybe. Is Jaden playing like he did in Washington under Shane Waldron in this offense? I don't know. Is Saquon having anywhere near the year he had in Philly behind last year's Bears offensive line? I don't know. Also, if those guys play a little bit better and the Bears are a little bit better than they were last year, do they make the O-line investments that they have this year? I just think it's a lot of that's a lot of what it. I mean, look, if Daniels goes on to have an amazing career and Caleb doesn't, that's obviously going to be talked about. But it was also the majority consensus that Caleb was the number 1 pick. Now, I think a few teams probably had Jaden, maybe a couple had May, but I think out of 32, 20 plus had Caleb as the number 1 pick. So it's up to him now because I think the Bears have done their part to absorb him in a good situation, even though the rookie year they did not for the most part. Let's see what happens this year and probably next year too, because I still think they're going to give this 2 years with him and Ben Johnson. That would be my guess. Unless this year just goes pathetically bad. Like it's even worse than last year, which I still don't think was terrible. But if he regresses, maybe that would change the timeline. But if he's even just a little bit better this year and shows signs of kind of getting the offense down and ability to play within the pocket more consistently this season, I think even that would be enough to get a 3rd season. And obviously, we're hoping for more. We hope there's a notable breakout here this year. So I appreciate the hypothetical, Sebastian, but I think that's all it is. I mean, they didn't get Saquon, and they zeroed in on Caleb. So it is what it is. But I've said it all along. I think Jaden probably would have played better here than Caleb did here. But I also think Caleb would have played better in Washington than he did here. So it's hard to know, what it would have looked like for each guy had they entered the different situation.
Agreed. And you said it yourself, not to be dead. I mean, we could play the what if game for
what if the double doink goes in?
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't. So I love a good hypothetical. Don't get me wrong, but you're never getting Saquon on this team. You're never going to have Jaden Daniels on this team. So worrying about it just, you know when you can bring up the Jaden hypothetical? If Caleb flames out and he's not on this team in a few years, then we can have that discussion. But having it now, it's just it almost makes you feel like you're punting on Caleb. I'm just nowhere near that. Yeah. Nowhere near that. So time will tell. Time will tell like it always does. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Big watch party yesterday. Y'all brought the heat again today. We'll be back live on Thursday, but we'll have videos tomorrow and Wednesday as well, so be on the lookout for that. One final super chat coming in from Tuna.
Or our friend Cornelius.
Cornelius, a.k.a. Tuna Sock.
We passed
so confused. Sometimes it shows the ats, sometimes it doesn't.
So for super chats, it'll show the at on our side, where we're looking in on YouTube. The studio. Mm-hmm. When we pull it up here, it shows their name.
The regular questions, though, show
their ads. Yes.
So
for
random.
Both. Which I don't
know what to make of that.
I think also, too, because of our YouTube, our graphic that we use, that also has
That's just how it does it.
Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, Cornelius says we passed on C.J. Stroud as well.
That team was not a C.J. Stroud away. But I hear you. That's also going to be talked about if Caleb doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And also, just like Caleb was the number one pick for most teams, Bryce Young was the number one pick for most teams. So they really passed on Bryce Young, which maybe he has a true breakout this year. Played a little better down the stretch last year. But
maybe they go full doom mode, and maybe they would have picked Anthony Richardson.
Oh, God. Yeah,
we could play the what if game all day.
I'm not even like I'm not even one of those fans that's like looking back is pointless. I'm not saying that. I'm just like, these are things you say if it's proven out that the guy you took hasn't worked out. We are far away from that, I think.
Very far.
Like, I just don't. I'm still betting on this working. So,
yeah.
Got to be patient. Let's see how it goes. Don't jump to conclusions. It's August 11th, and we're talking about passing on C.J. Stroud 2 years ago. Let's bring good vibes, everybody. Bring good vibes.
Pump the brakes.
All righty. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We will be back soon. Bear down.